Hey, welcome back for another gear review here at Counts Brothers Music. I'm Raul Knight, and for some reason, they have me back here today talking about the awesome gear they have here. There's some new stuff, some really cool exclusive things, like this Fender road-worn Jazzmaster that's in my hand. It's definitely probably my favorite pick of the bunch. Not to jump in it too early, but this thing is really special. Of course, we have some acoustic options as well we're going to get into later here in the bit. But first off, like I said, we have this incredible Jazzmaster, which when you look at this thing, you might think it's from 1955. I mean, it really is accurate in the aesthetics that they went for to make sure that it had that vintage look. Either up here at the top, you have your vintage tune pegs. Of course, you know, you're going to look at this thickness of this neck, and if you're used to kind of a contemporary guitar, it's going to be a little difficult to play on versus your normal, more modern, slicker necks, which is just, that was the technology of the day. And I just noticed when I was picking around on it a minute ago, I had to kind of pay attention more than I usually do to where my fingers were and how they were moving because that neck is thicker. And it's just a more vintage part of this guitar, which they were really trying to keep true about the Jazzmaster, which the Jazzmaster is obviously a very heralded guitar, wanted by a lot of different genres. But for me, being a fan of jazz, being a fan of rock, something like this really covers all the bases, even leaning into R&B, soul, any kind of ambient sound. This thing's a workhorse. You know, like I said, you will notice the thickness of the neck will affect your playing a little bit as far as what you're used to, but that takes just a few minutes of playing around on it, getting comfortable, and just getting used to the fretboard. And that's just how things are with most guitars anyway. So we're going to dive into a couple of the specs. One thing I really love that stands out about this guitar is this anodized, kind of rose gold pickguard, which anodization actually is like dipping metal in an electric bath for colorization, but also another aspect, it provides really good protection. So when you're going hard with your picks or just years on the road or studio use or whatever you're using it for, moving it around, you're going to have some extra protection with the fact that that pickguard is anodized. And it gives it a nice rose gold finish. It's really striking, pops out. It's not too much though, and it blends in with kind of the sunburst nature of this finish of this guitar. Another thing about the finish is you actually have a nitrocellus finish versus kind of like a satin or another option. All that is kind of built in with the fact they give it this worn look, which we'll kind of look at that in depth here, but on the back of the neck, across the guitar, you're gonna have indications that this thing has been looks like used since 1955, as mentioned. So that's all a part of the aesthetics they're going for. They wanted you to kind of pick this guitar up and kind of get the effect of, hey, this thing's vintage. It has some nicks and obviously some wear on it, but that gives it the character and gives it the sound that it does. But the funny thing is that it's kind of manufactured that way, which is really impressive because you would have no idea. I had no idea until I was reading up on the specs for this guitar. But there's a lot of things they also kept true, like on the headstock. It's really cool to see kind of that classic Fender Jazzmaster writing, kind of the handwritten touch. They've obviously changed their logo a couple times since the mid-50s, but it's cool to see something that's retro. Obviously, the Fender logo hasn't changed at all. It really resonates, but it's nice to see kind of the little intricate touches they have around the headstock. Cool to look at. This guitar is just really neat in a lot of ways. Fundamentally, one of the most impressive things about this guitar is it has a real slab of rosewood. You know, that's really hard to find a lot of times, especially for something as price competitive as this is. You know, there's a lot of different series of the Jazzmaster, but this one in particular, I know that you can get for very fair price for something that's so true and honest to something so vintage, but also giving you a lot of variety with your sound. The Jazzmasters have very unique pickups versus other Fender guitars. And, you know, there's just so many things you could go into about what makes this guitar unique, but I think the best way to do that is to come down to Counts Brothers and just pick it up, put it in your hands, and walk out the door with it later. Man, this Molly Tuttle guitar from Martin, which is the D-X2E, is something extremely impressive for an extremely impressive price point. And I always say this about every guitar here at Counts Brothers, but I want to take it home. And I think you should too, but first off, we're going to talk about it a little bit. If you don't know who Molly Tuttle is, she's in the new generation of up and rising bluegrass stars, of course, like Billy Strings, which we talked about in the last video, who has a series with Martin as well, but also now we have Molly Tuttle with her series that rolled out, I think in the last year or so, if I remember correctly, having the two options. The D18, of course, you're going to get some more resonance value, I will admit that, but listening to the both of them, I can't tell too many differences that would really stop me from going with this guy, especially with the budget-friendly option of the series. You're also going to have the benefits of having your plug-in options to go directly into your soundboard for your direct input. Also the built-in tuner that's always nice and inconspicuous inside the sound hole for that quick vision. So especially on stage, which I mentioned before, if you can't find your tuner, it's nice to have something just to look straight down, and there's your option for getting things in tune. Another thing that's great about Molly is her right hand style is something that is very unique. She's very fast, obviously, so she needs something that's going to have kind of a quicker neck. So maybe you're doing country picking, or you're just really playing any type of acoustic-based music, you're going to be able to get it done with this thing. And especially if you're doing any kind of soloing or picking around fast, this guitar is really designed to kind of meet that need. So I want to play around on it just a little bit, kind of get some nice feelings for how this thing may sound in a live setting or maybe in the studio. And after we do that, we'll look at a couple more things that we have as far as specifications on this guitar, just to make sure you have all that. But let's just dive right in, see how this thing sounds, play around a bit. And of course, I encourage you to come to Accounts Brothers yourself and do the same thing. This one might be gone today, but if it is, you can always talk to Julia here or James, any of the team here. Accounts Brothers, they also have a phone number, which I'll drop later in the video. It'll be in the description. Give them a call if you want to come by the store, or if you're far away somewhere else in the United States and you want something from here, the team will be happy to help you. But the yapping's going to stop and I'll start jamming. Well, that was a lot of fun. Just a couple more things about the aesthetics of the guitar. Obviously, you have the nice sunburst spruce top. To me, it kind of reminds me of it's like a Johnny Cash feel to it, which I like. Kind of has that nice, outlaw country, kind of rough around the edges, but also, can clean up nice kind of feel. So I love the look of that. The thing that really stood out to me, which the team at Accounts Brothers pointed out, was that on the fretboard you had the moon phases, and that is extremely cool and unique. So all up and down you can see the waning and the waxing of the moon. So while you shred, you can be entertained cosmically. So come on down to Accounts Brothers and check it out. And there's a little bonus feature that you will of course get a nice gig bag, Martin gig bag. This thing is nice, plush, and has some amazing padding on the inside to ensure that it is protected and your investment is with you for a long time. Now this is something I've been looking forward to talk about, is this California series from Fender. There's several guitars in the line. This one here is the Mini, the California Mini, which we are now looking at the Fiesta Red. It's a really cool, unique color. I think in this series, what's most attractive is kind of the smaller neck. It's easier for younger players, especially kids starting lessons or picking up their first guitar. Maybe you just need something compact and small to carry on the road. I would say that, flying and checking a guitar is always dangerous. It's something I don't like to do. But if you are going to do it, it's something like this. I feel like it's almost a carry-on. You could talk to TSA about that and your airline carrier, but I think you might can get away with that as a carry-on or maybe even a personal item. But that's real nice, especially if you're on the go. If you're a touring musician, you need something in your hotel room or on the bus just to play around and write songs, or if you just need some release from the road, I could see where this would be ideal. But also for the juniors out there jumping into music, or they've been into music. I remember being young and just being kind of overwhelmed initially about holding a guitar, learning all the things you have to learn about your fingers and developing a callus, and it's kind of a painful experience, especially for an acoustic player and someone young. I think this is a great mediator to give them something that's more manageable, something they keep in their hands that's not so much of a pain, especially in those early phases when they don't need to be discouraged by something as fundamental as a guitar might be too wide for their hand, right? So I know for one that Counts Brothers always recommends this one for newer players, especially when they're getting into lessons here at Counts Brothers, which they offer. Some amazing teachers here. So if you're looking for that in the Shoals, or maybe even virtually, they may have options for that depending on the teacher. Talk to Counts Brothers about that. But back to the point of this Redondo Mini. I would love to take this anywhere in the woods maybe. I like to camp. I like to, of course, visit family abroad and do all types of stuff with the family myself as far as travel goes, and I always need a guitar. And, of course, the first question family always asks is, can you play us some music? And generally I don't bring my guitar for whatever reason, but I think if I got something like this, I wouldn't have really any excuse. So whether you're a new player, traveling musician, or you just want something that's really cool and unique, I think this series could be really attractive for you. It has kind of that standard Stratocaster headstock, which I think is really neat. At first, I thought it was a Strat, but clearly it's a mini Redondo. But, you know, the aesthetic's cool. It kind of has that rock feel. It also reminds me almost like a ukulele, the way it sits, and the playability is nice. So I'm going to do a little playing on this thing, just kind of show you what you can get out of it. And especially for your younger players or your new players, bug your parents and make sure they get you this. Yep, I'm going to put this in my backpack. Actually, I'll probably just get the gig bag this comes with for protective purposes, but this thing's awesome. It's really fun. I think any young player needs it, and any older player that may be also a new player or a seasoned player needs it because it's just fun. It's something that's easy to tote around and kind of handles all the needs you would need for songwriting, just jamming with friends around a campfire, whatever your case may be. However, there are full-size options in this series as well. Obviously, we love the minis for a lot of reasons that we just mentioned, but if you want something full-sized with the same idea of something that's really compatible for your needs as far as acoustic genres, recording, live settings, but also something that's easy to kind of tote around and a really, really awesome price point, this is the series for you. Brothers, come by and see them on Waverly Avenue in Muscle Shoals. If you're far or abroad, you can reach out to them, of course, online, Facebook. You give them a call directly, and we're going to list their number in the description below. So be sure you give them a call and find out what you need. Don't be a stranger. Reach out anytime, and we'll see you next time at Counts Brothers, and we'll see you next time here for the gear review. Hopefully they'll have me back again. I've been very honored to be a part of this, and I look forward to it.